The 22nd of June, 1941. Under the code name Operation Barbarossa, Nazi Germany invades the Soviet Union, its ally, in the war against Poland. From the 30th of June 1941, Nazi forces occupy Lviv, the largest city of eastern Galicia, which Stalin had annexed in September 1939 from Poland. At the beginning of the German occupation, the Jewish population in Lviv exceeds 200,000, half of whom are refugees from German-occupied Poland. In the weeks that follow, Jews are beaten, tortured, and subjected to mass executions, and the massacres are not carried out solely by Germans, but also by Ukrainian nationalists and local youth. By the time Soviet forces liberate Lviv in July 1944, more than 99% of the Jewish population is wiped out. A man who will play a major role in implementing the Holocaust in Lviv and the surrounding area is SS and police leader of Galicia, Fritz Katzmann. Fritz Katzmann, also known as Friedrich Katzmann, was born on the 6th of May 1906 in the city of Bochum, then part of the German Empire. The son of a miner, he grew up in a modest family, and after finishing primary school, he continued his education with an apprenticeship in carpentry. Once he completed his training, Katzmann worked as a carpenter for several years, but eventually lost his job. Seeking a sense of purpose, in 1927 he joined the SA, or Sturmabteilung, which was the Nazi paramilitary force also known as the Stormtroopers, or Brown Shirts, due to the color of their uniforms. In September 1928, he joined the Nazi Party, and 2 years later in 1930, he became a member of the SS. On the 30th of January 1933, Adolf Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany by President Paul von Hindenburg. Katzmann took part in the Night of the Long Knives, which occurred between the 30th of June and 2nd of July 1934. During this purge, the SS assassinated many members of the rival SA, a paramilitary wing of the Nazi Party, including its leader, Ernst Röhm. Later, in 1934, Katzmann was transferred to Berlin, where he joined the 75th SS unit known as Wetterkind. Around this time, he got married, and the marriage produced 5 children. Despite being arrested for drunken assault, his standing within the SS remained unaffected. He was even appointed a city councillor and became an honorary member of the People's Court. His commanding officer, Sepp Dietrich, one of Hitler's most trusted allies, described him as an ambitious and dedicated SS officer, praising his fanaticism, discipline, and so-called sense of honor. In March 1938, Katzmann and his family were transferred to Breslau, today Polish Wrocław. The Second World War began on the 1st of September 1939, when Nazi Germany invaded Poland. Following the invasion, Katzmann was put in charge of security for a German army unit. In this role, he helped establish ethnic German self-defense units in Katowice, today Polish Katowice, in Upper Silesia, which soon engaged in mass executions of civilians. In November 1939, he became the first SS and police leader of the city of Radom in German-occupied Poland. As of the 1st of December 1939, Hans Frank, the Governor-General of German-occupied Poland, mandated that Jews wear the Star of David. Katzmann enforced the order with brutal efficiency and authorized the execution of any Jew found without identification. In June 1941, Katzmann was promoted to SS Brigadeführer, a rank equivalent to Brigadier General in the US Army. On the 22nd of June 1941, under the code name Operation Barbarossa, Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union, its ally, in the war against Poland. After the German conquest of western Ukraine, Katzmann was assigned to Lviv, in the district of Galicia, a southeastern region of the general government. From August 1941, he served as the SS and police leader of the district, and the following month, he was promoted to General Major of Police. As he quickly rose through the ranks as head of SS forces in Galicia, Katzmann played a central role in the persecution and mass murder of Jews and Poles, two of the groups most targeted by Nazi repression in the occupied territories. With the backing of his subordinates and the security police, he oversaw the extermination of the vast majority of Jews in Galicia. According to reports from the Jewish Council, between October and December 1941, the Jewish population in Lviv declined from 119,000 to 106,000. In eastern Galicia, Katzmann oversaw the murder of an estimated 55,000 to 65,000 Jews between 1941 and 1942. Under his command, approximately 80,000 Jews were deported to the Lviv ghetto in the northern part of the city. They were forced to endure such brutal conditions along the way that many perished before reaching their destination. Few Jews from eastern Galicia lived through the Holocaust, but those who did left behind harrowing testimonies of Katzmann's brutal tactics. Among them were Simon and Sila Wiesenthal, who described one of his most deceptive strategies for luring Jews out of hiding. Katzmann established a kindergarten for Jewish children, presenting it as an act of benevolence. Desperate parents, unable to resist the promise of milk and cocoa for their starving children, placed them in the facility. One day, 3 SS officers arrived and led the children away. They were never seen again. The atrocities committed against children were particularly gruesome. One survivor described how German forces murdered them in unimaginable ways, with some thrown alive into burning buildings. One survivor recalled how Nazi cruelty extended even to music. Jewish prisoners were forced to form an orchestra that played during executions. Among them were internationally renowned Jewish musicians from Lviv, ordered to perform Mozart, Beethoven's Third Symphony, and the Radetzky March. While this was partly an act of sadistic humiliation, it also served to maintain an illusion of order amid mass killings. One of the most revealing insights into the mindset of SS personnel in occupied Poland comes from the letters of SS officer Felix Landau, who was stationed in Galicia in 1941. His private correspondence provides a chilling glimpse into the mass executions that Katzmann witnessed upon his arrival. In a letter from early July 1941, Felix Landau wrote to his sweetheart, "Shortly after arriving, the first Jews were shot by us. 500 Jews stand there lined up, ready to be shot. The stench was so terrible that one needed a gas mask. Wounded Jews covered in dirt crawled out of mass graves. Hundreds lay there with blood streaming down their faces, holes in their heads, broken hands, and eyes hanging out. There were rows of Jews lying one on top of the other like pigs, whimpering horribly. The Jews kept streaming out of the citadel, completely covered in blood. Jews should not be allowed to run around in this condition. I would prefer an honorable open battle. Well, good night, my beloved Bunny." The horrific events described in Landau's letters align with reports on the deportations from Lviv to Bełżec extermination camp, approximately 85 kilometers away, between the 7th and 10th of September 1942. Trains carrying thousands of Jews broke down, leaving sealed boxcars stranded on the tracks for hours, sometimes even days. Some desperate prisoners managed to break free, only to be gunned down by Nazi guards. Meanwhile, corpses lay rotting under the sun, further fueling panic among the deportees. Conditions inside the overcrowded boxcars were unbearable. Extreme heat, suffocating confinement, and the overwhelming stench of death made the journey nearly impossible to endure. By the time the trains reached their destination, 2,000 Jews had already perished inside. Meanwhile, a brutal roundup in early September turned the streets of Lviv into a scene of terror. After a member of the Jewish Council refused to carry out Nazi orders, SS forces executed dozens of Jews, stacking their bodies outside the Council's headquarters as a chilling display of power and intimidation. On another occasion, as retaliation for alleged Jewish misconduct, Katzmann's forces publicly hanged 12 Jewish officials and policemen across Lviv. Some ropes and wires snapped, causing the victims to crash onto the pavement, only for German soldiers to drag them back up and repeat the execution. Their bodies were then left hanging in the streets as a gruesome display of Nazi justice. A survivor later described the horrific scene, the corpses with tongues blackened and stretched out, while German civilians, including women and children, gathered to watch. Some even took photographs, treating the public execution as entertainment. By late 1942, after a high wooden fence enclosed the ghetto, 70,000 Jews remained trapped inside, enduring extreme overcrowding. The conditions were so dire that hundreds, known as the dead of the desert, were forced to live outdoors. A press release dated the 16th of October 1942 contained a statement from an unknown journalist who described the so-called resettlement, a Nazi euphemism for the mass deportation and extermination of Jews, as not worthy of a civilized nation. By the end of 1942, the Lviv ghetto population had been drastically reduced, dropping from an estimated 120 to 140,000 people to just 40,000. Between the 5th and 7th of January 1943, 15,000 more Jews were murdered, along with members of the Jewish Council. In January 1943, Fritz Katzmann was promoted to Generalleutnant of Police and SS Gruppenführer, a rank equivalent to Major General in the US Army. By mid-1943, the death toll in his district had increased by another 143,000 victims. On the 30th of June 1943, Katzmann submitted his leather-bound Katzmann Report to SS Obergruppenführer Friedrich Wilhelm Kröger, the higher SS and police leader east in the city of Krakow in German-occupied Poland. The report documented the murder of 434,329 Jews through mass executions, deportations to extermination camps, and the liquidation of ghettos across Galicia. It also emphasized the economic advantages of Nazi policies, detailing the confiscation of Jewish property and the use of forced labor to support the German war effort. In its concluding section, Katzmann proclaimed triumphantly, "Galicia is free of Jews," framing the genocide as an administrative and logistical success. Katzmann remained in Lviv until April 1943, when he was transferred to Danzig, today's Gdansk in Poland, to serve as the higher SS and police leader for Danzig, West Prussia, a position he held until the end of the war. While there, he oversaw the installation of gas chambers and crematorium at Stutthof concentration camp, which was located about 22 miles east of Danzig. He also brought with him auxiliaries from Central and Eastern Europe, including collaborators who had participated in earlier Nazi operations. 3 months after Katzmann's departure, the final remnants of the Lviv ghetto were liquidated. By the end of 1943, nearly all of the 620,000 Jews who had lived in Galicia before the German invasion had been murdered. However, the ruins of the Lviv ghetto became the site of one final Nazi operation. As the Red Army advanced into Ukraine in autumn 1943, Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, ordered that all traces of Nazi atrocities be erased. Special SS Unit 1005, known as the Death Brigade, forced the few remaining Jewish prisoners in Lviv to exhume and burn thousands of corpses from mass graves. On the 20th of November 1943, in a final act of defiance, desperate prisoners attacked their SS captors, and several of them managed to escape. On the 1st of July 1944, Katzmann was promoted to Generalleutnant of the Waffen-SS, which was the military branch of the SS. Holding a rank equivalent to Major General, he was assigned to oversee the liquidation of the Stutthof concentration camp and its subcamps, ahead of the Red Army's advance. By then, mass executions using Zyklon B gas had already begun in June. Until that point, Stutthof prisoners had been considered essential for German armaments production, but now they were marked for extermination. It has been estimated that over 25,000 prisoners, 1 in 2, died during the evacuation from Stutthof and its subcamps. When Soviet forces liberated Stutthof on the 9th of May 1945, they found only about 100 prisoners who had managed to hide during the final evacuation of the camp. After Germany's surrender on the 8th of May 1945, Katzmann vanished completely, severing all ties even with his wife and 5 children. Under the alias Bruno Albrecht, he found work as a traveling salesman and lived quietly in the city of Darmstadt in West Germany. Katzmann planned to escape to Argentina, but this failed because he became seriously ill. In 1953, thinking he only had days to live, Fritz Katzmann revealed his true identity to a nurse, but she kept this knowledge to herself. In 1955, he worked in sales for a wood processing company in the town of Wechtersbach, and in March of the following year, he moved to the town of Griesheim, where his family was then living. Fritz Katzmann was 51 years old when he died as a free man on the 19th of September 1957 in Darmstadt. His identity was only revealed after his death. Even though Katzmann was responsible for the murder of hundreds of thousands of innocent men, women, and children, he never faced justice for his crimes. There were no tears shed for Fritz Katzmann.
Thanks for watching the World History channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.